Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us tmosso@the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions about this watch. Today, we're discussing something launched in 2023, but its roots go back to 1996, or maybe 1931, depending on how you measure the history of this Reverso Tribute Chronograph from Jaeger-LeCoultre La Grande Maison. This is a watch that draws on the heritage of the Reverso Chrono, first created as a limited edition in rose gold for 1996. We'll get to that in a moment, but fit comes first, so let's talk about the essentials of how this stainless steel watch wears. It's big, but it's not huge, so 29.9 millimeters across, not including chrono pushers or crown. I measure it from lug tip to lug tip at 49.1 millimeters. It's 11.2 millimeters thick, and then it's got a broad for a Reverso 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. And we'll throw this on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. It's a big one. I'd say you want a wrist my size or larger to wear this well. I am pulling it down fairly tight, but you're going to want a wrist of 16 centimeters circumference or larger to wear this watch. There's your over the top. There's your cuff shot, and it will actually slide fairly easily under a cuff. It's a dress watch after all. And then there's your down the barrel, where you can see the lugs are right out to the edge of my wrist, but not necessarily beyond. The strap is a high-grade piece designed by Fagliano of Argentina. It is made of canvas and calfskin. So it is designed by them. You can see Casa Fagliano collection. That's a little bit distinct from the strap being made by Fagliano. These are probably made by Camille Fournet, which is the OEM supplier to Jaeger-LeCoultre out of France, whereas the Fagliano brothers would have created the design. Fournet executes the fabrication. If it's an actual Fagliano strap, it would cost a lot more money, and there would be very few of these watches. You can see it's got a little bit of an overwrap of leather on top of the canvas, and that is a great look right there. You can also see pull-tab spring bars. This is something JLC has been doing for a while, allowing you to remove the strap from the case without tools. And their latest generation folding clasp, you can see this one, a friction-fit double-deployant steel clasp. It has a little button. You push there, it pops the clasp off of the strap, so you can remove the strap from the case without tools, and then you can remove the buckle from the strap. Taking a look at the case, it's very similar to the first Reverso of 1931. Initially, the idea was to create a sports watch that would be a time teller with a glass crystal on one side, and then the opposite side would be buff metal to protect against blows, impacts, anything that might shatter a glass crystal. So that would be your forward-facing facet during activity, and then you'd turn it back when you were off the horse or done with your sports or finished with your hazardous activities, and you would read the time. But from the early 1990s, really from 1991 and the 60th anniversary Reverso, there was this idea that you could show something else on the reverse, either a new complication, a display case back, something to make more of a potentially two-faced watch. And in the era when the Reverso was no longer considered a sports watch, it made sense to do something practical with the double-sided case. And so as the Reverso became more of a dress watch, we started seeing more Reversos with opposite side complications, and that's where we reach 1996. Now, there was a collection of rose gold Reversos, each one complicated. It started with the 60th anniversary Reverso, which was a calendar with a power reserve in 1991, and there would be tourbillon and minute repeaters, perpetual calendars, GMTs, and it spanned about a decade as these rose gold Reversos in limited editions came out, allowing Jaeger-LeCoultre to both reestablish the reputation of its longtime icon, but also to reestablish its expertise with complications in the wake of its near-death quartz crisis experience. So each one of those Reversos was complicated, and in 1996 we got Caliber 829 and the Reverso Chronograph Retrograde. That watch used a movement that is related to this Caliber 860. This is really an update of Caliber 829 from 1996, so its relevance lives on. On the dial side, it's very classical. Let's talk a little bit more about the case, though. As you can see, it's not the simple rectangle you see in these online soldier shots. It's got barrel-like rounded profiles. It has a tapered conical lugs. It has these wraparound gadroons or strakes, and then squared-off lug ends. Since 2016, also, new Reversos that have debuted in the collection have had this slightly angled case back. It used to be absolutely flat, and this little bit of angularity helps it fit better. There's satin finish on the reverse side. You can see 30 meters water resistant may sound like an average number for a dress watch, and it is, but consider that prior to the 1980s, no Reverso ever had any water resistance. So considering there are over 50 pieces that make up this case, that's actually quite impressive. Master 1000 hours control. This debuted in 1992 and gradually made its way across the line. I believe from 2004 forward, the Reversos were Master Control certified. It was one of the first in-house standards to go beyond the COSC, as it includes chronometry, but as a case-step watch. And it also includes water resistance, durability, power reserve for 1,000 hours, which is over 41 days, rather than the COSC's roughly 2-week test. The watch features a simple dial with faceted applique indices, what they call chemin de fer, or basically a road of iron, a railroad track for the minutes outboard. We have a metallic blue sunburst, but the blue color is actually achieved by an ADL application process, ADL allowing the deposition of titanium oxide that has been fired blue, and the powder becomes part of the dial to give it this rich metallic blue tone. We have faceted dauphine hands at center, the facet making it easier to read the time, and then the JL logo. Turn it all over, and now you can see that the chassis features this lovely off-centered sunray motif, and then you can see a little bit of how it works with these spring-loaded pin snaps that allow it to snap into place. And then it's actually remarkably solid. The Reverso case, when I first saw these online, having never handled one, I had really low expectations for how this would feel. I thought it would be like tinsel on a Christmas tree, sort of cheap, metallic, weightless. It doesn't feel anything like that. It feels like the bolt of a Springfield rifle. It's really impressive, redoubtable. Now the movement is effectively the dial, and you can see we have a second set of hands here. They're geared directly to the hands on the dial side, so they tell the same time. It's not a separate time zone, but it allows you to keep the chronograph side permanently up because you can still tell the time. And to help with contrast, you can see that those dauphine hands are half satinated. Now, caliber 860 here is shaped and sized for the movement, which is a nice touch. It's a manual winder with a 4 Hz beat rate and a free-sprung balance for durability and precise setting. And you can see that it features a column wheel and then a lateral clutch. So 52-hour power reserve, column wheel, lateral clutch chrono, and a retrograde minute display. And some people will ask, because there's a little bit of varnish on that minute display, no, it's not loomed. It is beautifully made, however. You can see at center we have our bob counterweighted chronograph seconds, a second scale with silver, black, white, and red. We have the retrograde. We have Côte de Genève. You can see these lovely cantilever faceted hour indices, and again the chemin de fer outboard. This is a superb movement, and again it goes back to that first Reverso chronograph from the Rose Gold series coming out in 1996. A little bit later it would be upgraded for sports watch use in the Reverso Grand Sport as caliber 859, and so this 860 is the direct successor to the Reverso Grand Sports caliber 859. There is a lot to love. All of this with 28 jewels, and the finish, I would call it on par with Audemars Piguet. So a little bit of hand finish, fair number of machine-executed elements, but the overall aesthetic is super premium. And then the fired blue screws are a real highlight for me. Also, the column wheel feel is world-class, really special. One of the best modern Reverso debuts. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Osso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.